Hey everybody, this is Skills from Skills Reacts, and today we're going to be going through some of the things that are happening in my own state, New Mexico, and it has to do with Epstein and his infamous Zorro Ranch. So here we are on a channel called Midas Touch. Now, Midas Touch speaks on a lot of political issues, this and that. He's pretty anti-Trump though, but I'm definitely interested in what he has to say right here. So just take one listen. Now, there is a guy that has bought Zorro Ranch and he's from New Mexico. And the moment that New Mexico's legislators have put together some type of task force to start an investigation into Zorro Ranch because the FBI didn't get back to him, didn't investigate it. And so New Mexico's taking it into their own hands. And this guy, which we're going to speak his name here in a second, has bought the Zorro Ranch and started demolishing it right away the moment before anybody has investigated it, before anybody has touched it, he's already demolishing evidence and tearing it apart to try to build a Christian retreat. Now, I understand if you're trying to make a dark place light, you know what I'm saying? But you can't be filling it with kids, and that place is a very evil place where they did very evil things and they've actually summoned certain spirits there that are going no matter who's gonna be there in the future, right? They will attach to and they'll try to get to whoever they can. Now that's how this kind of spiritual stuff works, especially if the people that were there were doing so much evil that they were summoning up their own demons, right? Now with all that said, let's jump into what he has to say and let's see what's going on here.
Zorro Ranch in 2023, where it appears that unthinkable and heinous crimes by Epstein and the cabal were committed. Well, this MAGA politician, Don Huffines, just gave an interview with
Dan
Matt
Hoffine,
Gaetz,
that's his
of
name.
all people. And Huffine says that he's already basically demolishing and doing construction work at the Zorro Ranch because he says
Wow.
he's turning the ranch into a Christian retreat
What?
for children. Now,
For
this
children?
followed the unanimous
What
vote
the
in the New
is wrong with
Mexico
this guy?
legislature where they agreed to create a truth commission to investigate the crimes that were committed at Epstein's New Mexico ranch that Epstein called the Zorro Ranch. I did a deep dive into the unthinkable and heinous acts that likely took place there. And the New Mexico legislature,
Wow.
they've just begun their investigation. It's a group of legislatures.
See right there, let's see what this says. New Mexico's Jeffrey Epstein Truth Commission gets off the ground. So New Mexico just started this big commission, all the legislators of New Mexico, to vow to investigate the crimes that happened on Zorro Ranch. Because obviously the Trump's DOJ and the FBI have no interest in investigating for whatever their reason may be. So that's why New Mexico decided to go ahead and stand up for itself and take care of business for itself because it's in our own backyard. Now, if you don't know about Burqueños or New Mexicans, one thing about us is we take care of our shit. We handle our shit. All right. So, with all due said, let's see what else.
Legislators. You have a individual by the name of Andrea Romero. She's one of the co-sponsors. She's a state representative there who's one of the leaders of this Truth Commission. And they want to conduct an investigation. What went down at the Zorro Ranch?
Right?
Why was there no investigation before? Why did the feds tell the New Mexico AG and the New Mexico do not do sex trafficking investigations? And then why did the DOJ not do investigations there? What else went down there? Epstein
Wow.
purchased that Zorro Ranch in 1993 from a former governor of New Mexico. We know that there were initial FBI investigations in the ranch around 2006, 2007. And when the FBI started to ask the house managers their questions about masseuses and individuals coming in and out and girls coming in and out, the house managers got a call from the Home Office saying, do not speak with these FBI agents anymore. And then the house managers, 06, 07, kicked out the FBI agents, and then nothing really ever happened there again.
But with that said, so let me explain a little bit of what he was saying. New Mexico was actually told by Trump's FBI that they cannot investigate any type of sex crimes having to do with the Epstein case. They can investigate anything else that has to do with Epstein, but they cannot investigate sex crimes. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Especially if they're not going to be investigating one of the main properties. Now, this property has allegedly housed more heinous stuff than the island, than the New York house, than any one of these other places that Epstein owned. This place in New Mexico at Zorro Ranch was the worst of the worst. This is where shit went on behind the scenes, when he didn't want people to see what was going on at the island, where he didn't want people to know any. This was highly secretive, heinous, ritualistic stuff that was going on here in New Mexico at the Zorro Ranch. So keep in mind, this place was never investigated by the FBI. Never. And the FBI simply told New Mexico that they are not allowed to investigate any type of sex crimes, SC, right? I'm astounded. Now, they're supposed to finish their investigation, the feds I'm talking about, and share the information with New Mexico's Attorney General, right? And vice versa. But this never happened. This never took place. They never investigated it. Nothing. All right? So let's see what's going on here.
That was one of the sites of some of the most heinous acts. I'll go through that in a moment. But here is Don Huffines right here going on a show with Matt Gaetz
Don
on
Heffine's the one
OAN,
that bought the
saying
place.
that the property's already basically under construction. It's now being transformed into a Christian retreat. He says it was a
Under
dark place,
construction?
and now it's going to be a place of light, and there's going to be children there, and it'll be a Christian retreat for children and families on the Epstein Zorro Ranch. What in the world? And you're
Why?
doing construction there? Isn't it a location where there's an investigation taking place? If you're doing, isn't there an issue that people have questions
Right?
about whether bodies are being buried there, and you're doing construction
Now, I
there right
don't
now, and you're
always
announcing
agree with
that
this
right
guy at all,
after
but on
the
this
Truth
subject, he
Commission
is right.
was created to issue
Why?
subpoenas and do investigations on the property? Hello, are y'all seeing what I'm seeing right here? Here's Don Huffines. Again, he's
There's
a
Don Huffines.
MAGA
Look how
Republican.
creepy
He calls himself Ultra MAGA. He was a Texas state representative or a Texas state senator. He went to Moscow in 2018 as a Texas state legislator in order to help Moscow or normalize relations between the United States and Moscow. His whole thing is that his son Russell currently has a top job in the White House. His son's a young guy currently working in the White House. Hello. Here's what Don Huffines told Matt Gaetz. Here, play this clip.
Now you have plans to take something evil and bring it into goodness, bring it into light and positivity. Tell us about that plan.
Well, of course, that is the main reason I bought the property. This
Wow.
was obviously a
That's
dark
him.
place, and we wanted to put light in a dark place. It always shines the brightest.
But
when
why are you
do
going to bring
that.
children
My faith
there?
is so strong in Jesus, and it really is. And I'm going to make this, the plan all along is to make this property into a Christian retreat. As a matter of fact, it's under construction today. And that's our goal. That's why we named it San Rafael. We named it St. Raphael.
Under construction today. Now, this came out a few days ago. Now, I got some news that just came out of my state, and it's all over the news. Now, they are stopping this construction as of today. It is 2/20/26, right? February 20th. They are stopping this demolition. Why would you be doing that knowing that there's no investigation yet? And that he knew that they were starting an investigation. He knew that New Mexico was going to be doing their own investigation, right? Because he said, I think on a transcript, that he is open to any type of law enforcement that wants to come and investigate the site when he bought it. Then why are you doing immediate demolition of the site? It's so suspect, right? Well, anyway, as of today, New Mexico has found out about his demolition fucking project, and they are stopping that. They are putting everything on hold, and they are going to be going in there and investigating. They set up a commission that is solely to investigate the crimes that happen at Zorro Ranch. All right? Now, this guy that bought this, I don't know him. I don't know anything about him, but I don't get good vibes from him. And especially, why would you want to be bringing a whole bunch of children to this property when you know that they've been summoning fucking demons and different things against children? Like, you don't think that spirit is lingering on? I don't understand this guy's concept at all. He's insane. I get turn a dark place into light. I understand that. But you can do that without involving children. Why would you put children in a place where children were being abused? That don't make no sense to me at all. He says he has faith. If you have faith and you understand the Lord, then wouldn't you know that that type of evil brings spirits and consequences and leeches that attach to you? You know what I mean? It's very suspect. That's all I'm saying.
Probably know an archangel in his
Dan
what he
Gabrielle is
does
what they
and
named it.
helps
He said.
people with is healing and being the healer, and also blessing those that are traveling. And we think that's really germane to this property.
Now, I just want you to think about this. He's on with Matt Gaetz.
Wow.
Matt Gaetz, who the House Ethics
And Matt
Committee
Gaetz is another one.
found
Look at
substantial
this.
evidence about Gaetz having sex with an underage girl in 2017, and that he regularly paid women for sex while he was in Congress. That's what the final report said. Here was the headline from CNBC. Matt
We don't
Gaetz,
care what you
former
do,
Trump
but
AG
when it
pick,
involves
had
or
underage girl while in
children,
Congress.
it's a problem.
House Ethics reports. You know that already, but you have Gaetz doing the interview with Huffines. Huffines saying he's turning the Zorro Ranch of Epstein that he purchased at a discounted price because of the history into a Christian retreat for children, and that it's already under construction. What is going on? Here is New Mexico State Representative Andrea Romero, who was the co-sponsor, talking about what the Truth Commission was going to do, what she was learning more, what people are learning more about what went down at the Zorro Ranch. Here's what she said, and I think this was before we learned about the construction, right around the same. Construction for a Christian retreat is all of a sudden taking place at the Zorro Ranch, which they now call, I think, San Rafael. Here, play this clip.
Thank you for talking to us, Andrea Romero. I wonder, first of all, if you could tell our audience what is alleged to have happened at this ranch.
We know there are allegations that the Zorro Ranch hosted numerous occasions of not only child sex abuse, human trafficking, but other heinous potential crimes at the ranch. We don't know
like
the extent to which these crimes may have occurred or how often. We know that Jeffrey Epstein was operating in our state for 26 years. And so the allegations at this ranch are horrifying for what we already know. And it seems every single day we get a new piece of information, such a cause for alarm.
Right. So your Truth Commission, which is now being set up, is going, as I understand it, is going to investigate claims that Epstein trafficked, abused, killed, and buried victims on this property. Is that correct?
That's correct. Again, even in the last few weeks, with the new information that we've received from the Department of Justice publicly, we are learning that there may have been reports to the FBI back in 2019 or prior to of bodies being buried, of folks being trafficked. It's absolutely horrifying to learn about these allegations. So we're really grateful to have a truth commission, since the statutes of limitations have run on so many of the sex crimes that we know about or have been alleged.
The statute of limitations, I think over here in New Mexico, is 10 years. So if you pick up a felony and it's already been 10 years, there's a statute of limitations. They can't charge you anymore with it. And it doesn't count for like first degree offenses, of course, like murder and stuff like that. But for other types of cases, there is a statute of limitations.
We're going to be doing a thorough investigation on everything that we can uncover about what happened at the ramp.
Flat out, getting older sucks, but it doesn't have to. Bub's Naturals.
So that's what that was about. I don't remember if there was anything else. Let me check.
The other day from Don Huffines. Here's how he describes things. In 2023, 4 years after Epstein's death, San Rafael Ranch had been listed on the open.
This is the buyer, Don Huffines, the buyer of Zorro Ranch.
Market for years and was scheduled for public auction. Let's pause there. Didn't you name it San Rafael Ranch? It was Zorro Ranch, right? It was Epstein's 10,000 acre ranch, 27,000 square feet complex where heinous and unthinkable torture happened. At the time of the sale, it was marketed that proceeds would go to the victims. It has since been confirmed by the estate's attorney that the proceeds from the sale benefited the victims. Or did it go to creditors? But you're invoking the victims? Just stop. I hate when they keep invoking the victims. If you were proud of this purchase, why'd you buy it under an LLC? Why wouldn't you just buy it under Don Huffines and brag about it and put out releases and say that you did it? Why was it done in a way that was very quietly done before? And until you wanted to challenge the property taxes, it really wasn't known who the purchaser was, in my opinion. What the enemy once meant for evil, God can redeem for good. That's why we renamed the property San Rafael, after the saint associated with physical and spiritual healing, and began plans immediately to remake it as a Christian retreat, reclaiming it for Jesus. Even the new entrance will reflect the mission and will read, "Blessed are those who come in the name of the Lord." By 2024, my family's ownership was public and had been posted on social media. Why not in 2023? We have always maintained an open line of communication with local authorities. No law enforcement agency has ever approached me to request access, and I have always said unequivocally that any such request would be met with immediate access and full cooperation. That is what desperate political opponents do. Last-minute lies and dirty tricks.
Bro, that is crazy. He said that he was never approached by any type of law enforcement to ask him about the ranch, bro. That blows my mind. So that's why New Mexico has to step in and take care of their own shit. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously the DOJ and the FBI ain't doing shit about this case, right? All right, let's take a look at some other stuff here. This is news from today, 20 hours ago. So, well, yesterday, all right? Let's check this out.
At convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch here in New Mexico.
But they're not the only ones joining the search for answers, or in this case, rejoining. The New Mexico Attorney General's office is reopening a criminal investigation of Epstein's Zorro Ranch, which closed 7 years ago. Trevor Thompson joining us now with their plans and what has been a week full of news related to Epstein in our state. Trevor.
Certainly, if the New Mexico DOJ gets what they're asking for, we could see even more news about Jeffrey Epstein and his ties to Zorro Ranch and the rest of New Mexico. But here's what we did learn today about their new investigation that is stemming from an old investigation. Epstein, of course, died in 2019. That very same year, the Manhattan U.S. Attorney asked New Mexico to stop its investigation. Now, our state's Attorney General, Raul Torres, is reopening that same investigation and also wants the feds to turn over complete unredacted files concerning both Epstein and Zorro Ranch. We also know that the new Epstein Truth Commission will be involved in this, which lawmakers just established during the session. They have until the end of this calendar year to look into Epstein with an interim report that's scheduled for July 31st. They promise to move very quickly to get some answers.
As we continue to formally commence this subcommittee, subpoenas will very likely be issued for those that do not want to voluntarily come forward and speak to us as a subcommittee.
We can't overlook the fact that this week we also learned of key political figures with reported ties to Epstein. That includes a former gubernatorial candidate and also a current one. We're, of course, talking about former AG Gary King, who ran for governor in 2014, and Deb Haaland, who is running right now. A flight invoice indicated they were both on a plane that was chartered by Epstein from Santa Fe to D.C. in 2014. Now, Haaland was running for lieutenant governor at that time. Her campaign says that she never, though, interacted at all with Epstein. And King said he didn't know the plane was connected to him. Here's what King also said about his knowledge of Epstein during his time as AG, which lasted from 2007 up until 2014.
Attorney General.
I'm not personally aware, and I think I would have got briefed on it from my investigators, of any tips or anything during the whole time that I was Attorney General that there was anything going on in New Mexico regarding Jeffrey Epstein.
So King said that he thought former Governor Bill Richardson helped to arrange for the flight. Richardson's name was also just removed from a building over at UNM Hospital. They did not confirm exactly why, but we should note it did happen after he was named in the Epstein files. Also, the new owner of Zorro Ranch is making headlines. Don Huffines bought the ranch and later renamed it San Rafael Ranch. He's a real estate developer from Texas who's now running for comptroller out there. He said the following, though, on X, formerly Twitter, about the investigation or the lack of any investigation so far into the ranch. He said, quote, "We have always maintained an open line of communication with local authorities. No law enforcement agency has ever approached me to request access."
That is crazy.
Last but not least, we also learned about an upcoming event to honor victims at Zorro Ranch. A group is planning to place
Hold on 1 second. My bad.
memorial items there on Saturday, February 28th at 11 in the morning.
Damn. See how our state had to make moves on our own? We had to handle things on our own because obviously the country's DOJ is not doing shit about this case, or the FBI or the Attorney General. Pam Bondi ain't doing shit about this case. So we have to pretty much take care of this shit that's happening in our own backyard, right? And let's watch one more that came out today, 5 a.m. This was 5 a.m. today.
Mexico. The Epstein Truth Committee, will investigate allegations of criminal activity and public corruption tied to the former Zorro Ranch, once owned by the convicted sex offender. Peyton Spelliscy was at today's meeting and joins us from the Roundhouse.
The House voted to create this committee just on Monday, and while this meeting was short, committee members want to make it clear this is about finding answers for the public and for survivors.
We need to know what's true and what's not.
Committee Chair Andrea Romero asking herself, if crime and alleged abuse has been well reported in New York, Florida, even Epstein Island, then why don't we have the full extent of what happened at Zorro Ranch?
It's alarming to me that this has not been put in a public record, not been held to account in a court of law.
With a $2 million budget, the group will create a subcommittee of legal experts, investigators, and support staff. Their job to review evidence, conduct interviews, and analyze new findings.
One of the most important things, of course, is identifying any potential victims that are out there. I think our deadline is the last day of December for some of the reporting, so we needed to get this rolling as quick as possible.
Another task of the committee, introducing legislation to prevent and punish crimes and to protect children.
I'm not a big advocate of new legislation, but I will tell you, if there's legislation that needs to address a an issue in this state? Absolutely.
Plus, looking to identify the loopholes that may have
Why
let
does he always
Epstein
have
slip
those big
past the state's
circles,
legal
those big
system.
So our laws, for instance,
pentagram
allowed
looking
him to come
things
to New
on all
Mexico
of his
without
properties?
registering as a sex offender as he had to in Florida.
Now, we don't know when this committee will meet next, but members do say that they want to launch a website where the public can track their findings, as well as a tip line for anyone who might have information. In the Roundhouse, I'm Peyton Spellacy, KOAT Action 7 News.
Nice. Dang. So that's what's going on. It's freaking crazy. I just heard about them stopping the demolition this morning. And so I'm proud of my state for doing that, for standing on their own 2 feet and not dealing with Trump's DOJ and all their bullshit. We're actually taking matters into our own hands as a state of New Mexico. And I'm loving that. All right. So with that said, you guys, I will be bringing back more news on the next one. I appreciate everybody that watched the video. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are a new channel that's trying to grow, so any support really counts. All right? See you guys on the next one. Alert, stay alive, Skills Reacts.